Hey, I'm Anton. Been a while, eh? Now, a lot of stuff has changed during this time. Went to college, built a bunch more planes. But the main point of this video is I'm bored of building stuff out of foam board. So I've been looking into other materials and techniques to build my planes out of. My latest project, ECHO-52 Photon, had a little party trick up its sleeve. It could do this! But unfortunately, this plane didn't fly at all. And I have many reasons why. The main reason being skill issue, of course. But today, we're going to recreate this plane out of this material. Today we're going to be talking about composites, like you might have guessed from the title of the video. As you can see, this foam is incredibly brittle. It falls apart just like that. How am I going to make something strong out of it? Here I have paper. It's floppy and it's not stiff, but you can bend it as many times as you want. Here I have foam. It's a bit stiff, but if you try to bend it, it only goes so far before it breaks, snaps in half. But also it's pretty pliable. How do you make something stiff, strong, and resistant to damage out of it? You combine them into a composite, which is foam board. Foam board is a composite that resists impact and also can be pretty flexible, of course, if you bend it. But instead of foam and paper, we are going to be using fiberglass and epoxy resin. So let's get cutting. Ripped tip, all the pieces are cut out. The most tedious part is behind us. Put down the templates, add a tape, common denominator by 5, split into 5 equal sections, template on the other side. Let's get cutting. I kinda made a big mistake with this one. You're supposed to cut the bottom half starting from the front, not from the back. So that's why I messed it up. Alright, now that was so much better. As we can see, the blade didn't stumble. We got a really nice and smooth surface. And over here, it follows a nice curvature. After separating the profile, look at that. And so, the two wing halves are officially fiberglassed and done. After doing a bit of cleanup, they're looking pretty good, and they turned out very, very stiff. Alright, so I did a lot of work off camera. I'm sorry, but it was all pretty much the same thing. I joined the two halves together with a piece of fiberglass laid over with this laminating film just to create a smooth surface. It broke just a little bit here and here when I was doing a stress test, so I reinforced those pieces. They will be completely invisible once I take off the laminating film. I cut out those ailerons too, freed them up just from the bottom and from the sides, and they are moving freely, so I won't need to make any more hinges. All the wires are exposed here. I'll be soldering it all up to make sure everything works, but I tested and both strips are still in working order. And after taking off all the layers, this is what the wing turned out like. It's very solid, really rigid, turned out looking just perfect, eh? And I can't wait to actually put it all together. Front part of the fuselage officially printed. And now fitting it all on. It's supposed to look somewhat like this. Still needs a bit of trimming. Now I'm going to hollow out this part, a little bit of this part, so I can fit a flight controller in there. And then we'll connect everything together. Alright, this was a bit tedious, but I finally made it, the front part and the back part together. I just used a bunch of hot glue, which is not the best option, but it will do just to hold it together. And now I'm going to glass it from the top so that it holds like a big solid piece. You can see I already masked off everything. So as you can see, there was a lot of fiberglass involved in the process of making this plane. But to be honest, the more I worked with fiberglass, the more I started to like it. It's almost like paper mache, but it's even cooler because you're basically taking two materials that are nothing without each other and you're making something that's really strong, really lightweight, and just looks so cool. The logic here is that I'm using this material called lightweight PLA for the fuselage. It is very lightweight, but it's also flexible and kind of brittle sometimes. So that's why I'm using fiberglass to make it stiff and make it strong. That was my first time fiberglassing ever in my entire life, and I think so far it's turning out really, really good. I love the finish on this lid especially, and it's very strong. Now you might think, why am I painting this thing if it's already white? Well, it's a different tone of white, so I'm just using this cheap primer that I found in a hardware store, giving it some nice thin layers, just covering it all nicely and evenly. And believe me, it's gonna look so good at the end. Well, the all-up flight weight turned out to be about 414 grams with the battery and everything else. It's way heavier than I expected. I expected about 300 maybe, but I think that's just because I went a bit too much overboard with epoxy and I could have added a bit less. I learned some more techniques, so for the future builds I'll be able to use fiberglass without having to put so much weight in. But this thing looks awesome. Not the best finish, of course, but I'm definitely proud of it. Alright, so after connecting all the linkages to the elevons and installing the prop and doing all the rest of the stuff, this is what the plane looks like now. I think it turned out looking pretty awesome. So we're at the field right now and we're going to give it a test flight. I'm not going to do any FPV or flights with the LEDs on. I'm just going to evaluate the flight performance. So let's do it. I'm really having high hopes for this. Okay, it's very touchy. It does pull the nose down a whole bunch. You gotta trim it out. It definitely needs some trimming and tuning, but it definitely cruises. I'm about maybe 40% throttle right now. And it feels pretty good, honestly. I'm gonna come in and land real quick over here and let's see how well it's gonna handle on landing. Gonna come in a little bit of an upwind past that tree. Good enough. Alright, so overall I am very pleased with the way this thing flies. It stalls very gently, does not drop a wing, cruises at low speeds just fine, cruises at high speeds just fine, slips through the air like effortlessly. For how much this thing weighs for its size, I was hoping it would be a bit lighter so I could, you know, comply with the rules and stuff, 250 gram and all that crap. But no, this thing actually flies really well despite its slightly being overweight. Definitely need to find a better way to hold down the battery hatch. But other than that, and reinforce the elevon hinges just a little bit. But other than that, it's a great little flyer. And I can't wait to fly this thing from my balcony at night. This is awesome. So, I was pleasantly surprised with the way this thing flew. Really good flight characteristics. After I got home and reinforced those hinges, I also added this magnet to act as a lid. And overall, now that the plane is tuned out, it is ready for the official extensive test flight.
So let's plug in the lights and see what it looks like now. Ah, yes, baby. Oh, I can't get over how cool this model looks with the lights on. Alright, good to go for another launch. I'm going to do a little bit of more flybys over here. All it needs now is maybe a little bit, just a little bit of nose weight. Whoa! Almost lost my balance there. Not on the plane itself, but on my feet. Woo! This is so cool. For it to be nicely controllable, maneuverable, and semi-autonomous. I mean, I can put it into RTL mode, it will RTL itself in case it senses danger and loss of signal. Turn to launch mode. You can see it got itself locked in. Throttle goes all the way down, as you can see, all the way down. It's like right over there. This thing flies very stable. Hands off. Yeah! Try not to let it fly away too far from me. There you go. Well done, little Photon. You are great. Your predecessor has nothing on you. That thing didn't even fly. But you fly amazing. I am so happy with this model. It's so cool.
Alright, now by using some old stolen political signs, I gave this plane some additional tail fins that should hopefully keep it more stable during the flight, especially in turns. And I also upgraded to a 5-inch 2-bladed prop instead of a 4.5-inch 3-bladed, which hopefully should give us a slightly longer flight time.
Oh no! That was a horrible crash. Why did it do that? Oh no. Oh man. Well, as it turns out, having duct tape on you is very useful. If you knew me for a little bit, you would know that nothing dies easy on me. Whatever I build kind of has to earn its death. It can't just like have a little simple crash and just you know, not fly anymore, I won't let this thing die that easy. But I think this project has to be retired. It's been a good learning experience. So let's finish its last days of flight here. Up, 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 up. Okay, that's better. No, I don't know what I'm talking about. This thing flies great now. And it feels a lot more stable in the turns. I might just have to tear off that front fuselage half and reprint it, reglass it, you know, make it a bit nicer. Because it definitely deserves another chance. I mean, look at this thing. Look at this thing. It flies so good now. Look, no hands. Look at it. It's awesome. No, I'm not done with this project just yet. But I want to see what it feels like temperature-wise after all these maneuvers. Bang! It's definitely warmer than what I had before. Oh wow, that's hot even. Yeah, look at that, it's moving all over the place, just like that. That's what I was kind of afraid about. So, I don't know, kind of mixed results from this test flight. I am happy with the way that it flew, with those fins being added to the back. Definitely feels a lot more stable. But at the same time, structurally it's just done, and that motor mount needs to be redesigned and rethought about, and probably just use a different prop, you know, at last. But other than that, I'm very happy with the way this project turned out. I think it's an awesome learning experience,
And so, this is what we got. So far, it's a pretty good flying model, really. I don't really know where one to go with this model. I definitely would like to rebuild the fuselage somehow, but with the way that I fiberglassed everything in, it would be practically impossible to take off the fuselage piece and put something else on. I did some mistakes while building this thing. It ended up being heavier than I anticipated because of those mistakes. And of course there are some design flaws, like not enough space for all the electronics and a pretty crappy motor mount, to be honest. Aerodynamically though, this thing was very solid. With those additional fins, it flew very stable, hands off, a very enjoyable flight experience. But doesn't matter how many roadblocks and hardships I face with this project vision, I will not stop and take my word for it. I will not stop until I have something awesome that I can throw off my balcony and go flying FPV, proximity flying, night flying, whatever, and something that will be strong enough to withstand any kind of crash that can occur. See you guys on the next one. Bye bye.